Today, I want to take you behind the scenes of a remonetization strategy I put into play earlier this year after one of my more conventional launches. If you do any kind of marketing, launch-based marketing, like many people do in the industry, then this is definitely something for you to consider. And what I mean by those launch-based strategies are maybe you host a webinar or a series of webinars to demonstrate value. And then at the end of those free series, you invite people into an offer. That's exactly what I did a couple of months ago. I held a series of webinars called the AI Marketing Crash Course. We were teaching some of the things that I do in marketing using some of the new AI tools that are out these days. Love them or hate them, right? But they're there. ChatGPT, Descript, some of the other tools that are out there. And the offer was to invite people into a one-year membership with me in my marketing academy. This is where we teach everything pretty much that I know about marketing for business owners, mostly personal brand-based businesses, right? Now, we have some people who had joined the program, even though they had regular, more conventional brick and mortar businesses or businesses that were outside of the personal brand space. We did this launch. The numbers were really strong in terms of the free webinar series, right? We had hundreds and hundreds of people opt in to register for the webinars. And when we did the webinars, my friend Robbie Fowler and I did this, we hosted the live calls. We had less than the typical show up rate. I was a little disappointed with that. Okay, I'll be honest, I was very disappointed. I was like, oh no, freaking out, like, oh my gosh, we're going to all die, right? Because these numbers aren't good. Now, and that's a side note, but I just want to say that I know you or maybe some other people might think that like Mike's always cool and calm and collected. He's got everything figured out. That is not true. When I get into launch mode, I go crazy. I'm just like, oh my God, things don't, one thing doesn't work out. I'm like, I'm going to be poor forever. And I know that if you do any kind of marketing this way, you felt that too. Don't lie, right? We're like, the sky is falling. Everything is going to be over. We are complete failures at everything we do. So of course I went through those ups and downs, and Robbie was there and he had to manage my emotions. It was really helpful to have him there, right? But we did the launch. We did the 3 webinar series. It was very, it was stressful to say the least. And this is also all new content that I was creating. And there's stuff that I've been learning on the go, and I was seeing results with it, but I needed to turn this around to teach the content. And I didn't have as much time as I normally did to do this, right? So I'm going to stressing out. He's stressing out with me, but he's not stressing out because his job is, to make sure I don't stress out too much. He's such a huge help in everything I did. And we recorded the videos, and then I had a family thing come up, and I had to fly overseas to Korea to visit my dad. Medical emergency had happened. So there's a lot going on. I'm dealing with that while I'm doing the launch. It's very stressful. Anyways, launch ends. We get a good number of people to sign up for the academy, which was wonderful. It's a great program. I think it is, and people are seeing real results there. It still bothered me that not a lot of people showed up for the live webinars. I decided to kind of just take a swing at it, and Robbie encouraged me to do this. So we took the 3 90-minute masterclasses, the actual webinars that I'd done with Robbie, and I went in and edited the videos, right, to cut out all the extraneous, stuff, right, and packaged that up, created essentially a short course, right? 3 90-minute videos. And we added a document where we shared all of the prompts that he and I use to market my business, ChatGPT prompts, other things that we had covered in those webinars that we didn't have time to really, really dive into. We sold this, right? We just offered it, and it sold like gangbusters. I mean, I don't even know what that means. It just sold really well. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And I was completely shocked. I was like, hundreds of people purchased this thing, and it ended up doing really, really well for us. And one of the key things that I think I did, I want you to run with this here, is that I didn't just repost a 90-minute continuous video. I actually broke them up into chapters based on the slide deck. So if the first 3 slides on the slide deck were about like the opening to the session, I would make that a video. It didn't matter that I had a transition or not into the next portion. I think it helped people just keep watching video after video after video. The best analogy that I can give you is on Netflix, when they have, an episode ending and starts to roll the credits and that little prompt comes up, play next episode, and all you can do is press the button. You're like, yes, like a zombie, and you press the button and you go to the next episode. And 18 episodes later with no sleep, you realize you've just binged the whole series. Well, that's the approach I took to these videos, and it really worked. I had a lot of people write back and say how much they enjoyed it. And I think as a result of that, a lot of people share that resource with other people. We had some folks who had bought in that I didn't even know about, who had fairly large audiences, and they recommended it to their audiences. And so that's one of the things that really kind of propelled the sales forward. Right? All that to say, it wasn't complex. It wasn't like mind-blowingly, groundbreaking strategy. I just took the stuff that I always thought was supposed to be free, and I repackaged it and sold it at a very, very reasonable. It was a steal, to be honest. And I'm pretty sure several of the hundreds of people who registered for the webinars but didn't show up live bought the product. Would I wanted them to show up live? Yes, because I think I would have made more sales to the academy had they showed up live because of the live nature of it, and they'd be spending more time with me. But to be able to repurpose it and then pull in 5 figures that way is still pretty cool. And now I've got this evergreen product that's just sitting on my site. I talked about it a couple episodes ago, right? On the Will AI Take Away Your Job in Business. And it's just sitting there, mikekim.com/AI crash course, or you go to mikekim.com/store. And the cool thing is we're continually adding to it. So it's not going to be a product that expires on the shelf, because AI is rapidly changing all the time, right? There's new things that they're adding to these features, these apps that I talked about, and different ways that I'm learning to use it. And we have a community of buyers, several hundred people. And what we're going to do very shortly is we're going to host a live masterclass for our buyers, right? To walk them through some of the new things that are found in the product. And chances are most of them haven't even dove into it yet. So this is another way to engage our buyers. And if we want to, we can invite them in to join Marketing Academy, right? So this is just a simple strategy that I'm using that I could just, share with you today, because I've seen this work, and I'm planning to do this with some other launches that I'm running for our clients and for another business that I have. Why take all this free content that you've created and just throw it away? You could even repurpose it into guides or written guides, anything else, using the power of these AI tools. You transcribe it, you get ChatGPT to clean it up. You've created now a workbook or a guidebook. Like what's wrong with that, right? Many of your clients, honestly, they don't want to watch a whole series of videos. They just want to read it. I'm not a video consumption person, except when I just mindlessly scroll YouTube. But when I want to learn something from a creator or an expert, I actually prefer to read it, right? I like to skim, and I read quite fast. So I like to read things instead. So I think one of the remonetization strategies that we have to understand in this day and age, that the technology that we're all readily able to access can do for us, it allows us to repurpose material to remonetize the same content. You now more than ever are able to give people what they want to consume in the modality that they want to consume it. You need to do that. This is why I've become so much more adamant about creating on YouTube first, then repurposing to my podcast, and repurposing to a blog post and social media posts and whatnot. I had to switch my workflow to work with the technology and the tools that are out there, right? And in full transparency, it's one of the reasons that I've had to cut back on doing interviews on my podcast, because on YouTube, it doesn't feel right. I very rarely ever watch YouTube videos, interviews, no matter how good they are, when it's just two people talking to each other via Zoom screen. I like to watch those interviews when they're sitting face to face. And so I made a strategic decision to change my content creation process, because I want to prioritize being on video and doing YouTube, right? And if I'm going to do interviews, I've actually looked into this already. You'll see it coming in a few episodes or so. We got all the workflows worked out. Renting a studio, and if people want to be on my show, they've got to fly in, and we'll do the video and the interview live, so that I have it good looking for YouTube, and we still have good audio content for the podcast channel. And when I announced this change to some of my students and some of my closer mastermind members and stuff, the response was overwhelmingly positive. They said, I actually like your solo episodes better than your interviews anyways. This is cool. So for me, this is all of this strategy is now informed the way I'm repurposing content. And that's my current content creation wheel. Solo episode on YouTube/podcast first, repurpose the audio for the podcast, take that content, clean it up so that I can write some articles around it. I still like having a hand in my own copywriting. I think that will always be the case, right? Because my business was built on writing, but I can turn this into more actionable and snackable content on my blog or right within the show notes section of my podcast episodes. On every page that features an episode, I have the YouTube video, I have the audio, I can have the bullet points, and eventually I can just put the entire transcript. So it's an all-in-one place to get all the content. This streamlines all of my content moving forward. So if I'm just intentional about one thing and strategic about what I'm creating on YouTube and on the podcast, it has a trickle-down effect to everything else. And the one decision that I had to make was to say, I'm not going to do interviews, because sometimes interviews are just like, you don't know what you're going to get, right? So when I have more time to have the bandwidth to be more flexible with that, I'll reconsider the interviews. But for now, for the next 3 months or so, I want to get this workflow in place. And you see how I'm thinking through this. It's just, how can I take the one thing that I've done and leverage it 5 more ways without me doing 5 times the amount of work? Because the old Mike Kim used to do this. I'd record a podcast. I'd write something completely different for my email list. I'd post something completely different on my Instagram feed. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I just randomly threw old videos and stuff on there. And this is not strategic. This is not how that is not how I'd market any business for my clients. Why would I be doing that for myself? So I had to ask myself those hard questions and reconfigure my workflow, right? So all of this is stuff that I've been recently thinking about this past year, right? Past 5-6 months, right? And really starting to approach this strategically. And a lot of these tools have helped me do this, right? In a long-term, big picture way. Right. So next time you do a webinar of any kind, or you do a podcast, take the transcript, get the transcript. Right. You can use a tool like Descript or Rev.com, something like that. Take the transcript, put it into one of the language learning model AI tools, have it summarize it. You can peruse the transcript, pull it for good information, and clean up the writing. And now you've got a post that you can put on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, captions, you name it. And here's the bottom line. It literally has never been easier to do this. And never been cheaper. And I know that still 90% of people won't do it. What that shows is their excuses are not valid. Oh, I don't have the time. Well, this just saves you all the time you need. I don't have the money. You can do all this for free, basically for free. What the block is psychological, it's emotional, it's mental, whatever you want to say. It's like, I don't want to publish. I'm scared to publish. I'm scared to put this stuff out there. What if nobody reads it? And that's the great differentiator. So for all of you who may be wondering like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to get eaten up, by the content machine. Everybody's going to get creating content. I'm going to be phased out. I'm going to be watered down. Let me just remind you, 90% of people aren't going to do anything anyway. So you just keep doing what you know how to do, keep showing up, keep adding value, and you'll be just fine. Okay, you'll be just fine. All right, a lot in there. If you've been watching here on YouTube, thank you. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of future content. If you've been listening on the podcast, audio only, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't left a rating or a review yet on your podcast platform of choice for the show, I would so appreciate that. That helps get word out about the show. It's extremely helpful, right? And if you enjoy the episode, please, whether video or audio, please share it with somebody. It helps get word out about what I'm trying to do here. And I just really want to help you move your business forward, move your brand forward, make the money and make the impact that you should be making in this world. Till next time, live your message, love your work, leave your mark on the world, and I'll see you back here very soon.